Logan Paul is bringing UFC-tier drama to boxing with his latest confrontations against Bellator MMA welterweight champion Dillon Danis. And that's an understatement. They're set to face each other on the 14th of October, but they're already trading the most vicious insults and humiliations online. It's included threats of injury and even trolling of Dillon Danis' marital situation. A known trash talker himself, Logan Paul is so confident that he's willing to wager $1 million on this fight. The beef between them seems to have grown into an outright blood feud, and we can hope for a really charged-up confrontation when it finally goes down on the 14th of October. Let's take a look at what led up to this. Logan Paul's troubled boxing journey. There was a mix of reactions when the Paul brothers announced their entry into the sport of boxing several years ago, along with KSI and a few others. Both Paul brothers were in fact the progenitors of the YouTube boxing phenomenon. A two-fight card in 2018 featuring KSI and his brother Deji versus Logan and Jake respectively turned out to be a massive success, even if fight fans were dismissive. From that point, boxing served as a great platform with which they could grow their brand. Logan and Jake took a particular liking to combat sports, and through their evolution in the sport, they matured slowly. To address the elephant in the room, Logan Paul has indeed never won a fight. His record stands at 1 defeat and 2 draws in the ring in his 3 fights. However, his lengthy rivalry with KSI generated renewed interest in the sport of boxing according to some. And through him and KSI, many young people find themselves deep into the sport to learn and train it. Still, boxing remains secondary to Logan Paul's enterprises. He is first and foremost an entertainer. So in retrospect, it should come as no surprise that he's been spending quite a bit of time in the WWE. But how far can you really go in the WWE as an entertainer in 2023? It should be noted that both he and his brother Jake continue to face the ridicule of fight fans and even scathing criticism of each other, as the relationship between the brothers has not been great. Neither of these two are taken seriously. It's a truly difficult and special sport, and I feel for these boxers who've come up the hard way, seeing other guys jump the line and get the fights and get the money, said Teddy Atlas in 2021, the veteran trainer and host of the boxing podcast, The Fight. Sports Illustrated states the following: the purists cringe and complain that the sport's credibility is eroded when Terrence Crawford receives a fraction of the fanfare of the Paul brothers. We feel that, and it's true. However, it must be admitted that the Paul brothers have indeed introduced boxing to a whole new generation of kids. One of them includes Ryan Garcia, who is following in their footsteps by leveraging social media, and we can all agree that there's a good reason for the fanfare. Either way, Logan and Jake continue to face constant accusations of fight rigging and singling out MMA fighters past their prime to come into the ring with the promise of a big payout. Logan himself was especially cruelly mocked after his fight against Floyd Mayweather Jr. ended in a draw. Mayweather himself basically admitted that it was a setup. I did an exhibition with the YouTuber Logan Paul. We had fun. People have got to know there's a difference between a real fight and an exhibition. All I did was work out from time to time. If it was a real fight, it would have been a blowout in the first round. It gets worse for Logan because his brother Jake has had a much more successful career despite being criticized for the same things. Jake stands at a 7-1 pro record, with his loss being to none other than Tommy Fury. He broke the internet twice when he beat Tyron Woodley in 2021 and then Anderson Silva in 2022 before being stopped in his winning streak by Fury. Of the two, Jake is clearly the better boxer, as not only has he shown himself to have great stamina, which he uses to punch rather hard for his size, but he's also able to shrug off a fair amount of beating. So, there you have it. In light of all the public vitriol, a WWE stint that's probably not bringing as many views as he wanted, his brother Jake being better than him, and probably 1,000 inner voices goading him on, he decided to get back to boxing. The lead up to this fight was going to be charged with the classic Paul brothers toxicity, taken to a new height. The beef. Well, the beef that Logan Paul is fighting out virtually with his slated opponent Dillon Danis has been getting so toxic that it's outright comical. It's even involving people and things that you wouldn't ever expect in a pre-fight beef. Let's unpack this. You may remember Dillon Danis as the guy from Conor McGregor's corner in that infamous 2018 confrontation between McGregor's team and Khabib Nurmagomedov's team right after the match. Danis was the target that Khabib charged at after submitting McGregor, and Danis responded by throwing punches before the all-out brawl began. Dillon was absolutely insulting Khabib, saying something to him and provoking him, and then Khabib just jumped over the cage and attacked him. Joe Rogan testified. This is just one of the many events under his controversy-holding belt. Other notable events include a brawl with Kamaru Usman's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, in 2021, and accusations of involvement in a crypto scam early this year. All of it pales in comparison to how he attacked Logan Paul, though. Initially, he was supposed to face KSI in January of this year, but the fight failed to materialize. That's how Logan Paul got his chance to fight again. It didn't take long for Danis to start with a virtual low blow. He thought it would be a great idea to start trolling Logan Paul about his fiancée, Nina Agdal. He's tweeted photos of Agdal with her past boyfriends, including Leonardo DiCaprio, all for the sake of getting a rise out of Paul. Not only that, he's also created a photoshopped image of himself and Agdal, implying that she's been seeing him as well. He has, however, claimed that his beef with Paul has gone on forever, and it even includes Jake. Curiously, he's also drawn in Logan Paul's business partner, KSI, into this, with whom he was supposed to have a fight back in January. He accused all three men of attacking him and his family in the past. The press conference was nothing short of dramatic, with insults being hurled at each other cruelly. Logan Paul showed up with the life-size cake depicting Dillon Danis that he allegedly paid $7,000 for. At one point in the heated conference, he threw the head of the cake at Danis, who was absolutely seething with murderous rage. And this is where we come to Logan Paul, placing a $1 million bet on the fight. He also attacked Conor McGregor online after McGregor said that Danis would win. Paul responded by stating that he would beat his boy to the tune of $1 million. You guarantee a win? I'll bet you $1 million I beat Dildo Danis on October 14th, he wrote in the tweet. He topped it off by calling Danis a, quote, fucking drug addict. On the other hand, Danis hasn't stopped dragging Nina Agdal into this, after it was initially claimed that Logan Paul had sought a restraining order against him. While it was at first a rumor, the restraining order did indeed come about after he posted a sexually explicit image of her from 10 years ago. Think about that for a moment. Nina Agdal has filed a massive lawsuit against me. She filed a restraining order against me and is seeking prison time, so the fight is in jeopardy if I'm in jail. This is actually wild, but I won't stop. Fuck the system. Come get me. Logan Paul is a dead man walking. He proudly boasted after he was served the legal notice. He continued onwards. The clout whore sent the details to TMZ, exposing her true character. Nina Agdal will be called Karen Agdal till further notice. I didn't even put a ring on it, and she's already trying to fuck me for all my money. Logan Paul took to returning fire in interviews and podcasts. In an interview with the MMA Hour, he said the following: I would prefer that he shows up. If he doesn't, I'll be more than happy to handle Mike Perry. It won't feel like a letdown. I'll let Nina handle him in court. We're going to slaughter him either way. As if the whole thing couldn't get any more confusing, Danis confused fans on September 26th when he announced that Logan apparently didn't want him to fight and then reversed himself a few hours later and said he was over everything. The last tweet by Danis fueled speculation that he would be pulling out, which now seems unlikely, but Logan couldn't help but make fun of it. He called Danis a pussy and a bitch on Instagram for his tweet, and then he said that he withdrew out of the bout because of a meme, in which he said that he would lose no matter how he behaves leading up to the match. It probably won't be a stretch to imagine that both men are going to try to kill each other on the canvas on October 14th. Whatever the outcome, it will be toxic, and it will be heated. Maybe Conor McGregor gets involved directly. Only time will tell. Dillon Danis. Dillon Danis is known as an MMA fighter, but he actually doesn't have much of a career in the discipline compared to some of the opponents that Logan's brother Jake has fought. He came into the spotlight after he got into the good graces of Conor McGregor in 2016. He helped him prepare for his rematch against Nate Diaz that year. Then he would go on to help him with Khabib Nurmagomedov. You already know how that ended eventually. Before that, he'd been training under the wing of the famous Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner and trainer Marcelo Garcia, and had actually competed in professional grappling matches. He scored decent wins against UFC competitors in the grappling tournaments. Achieving his Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt at the age of 21, this is what he's the best at. Alongside his troublesome image, he's also built up a reputation as a quality grappler. But well, that's it. Since signing on to Bellator in 2018, he has 2 fights with which to his credit were won by him using grappling submissions quite masterfully. He still has fights left on his contract, but that's where we're at currently in light of his first ever boxing match. He doesn't have much in the way of pro-level striking. On top of Conor McGregor, he's enlisted the help of former UFC middleweight champion Alex Pereira, who's known to be a powerful striker with professional boxing experience in Brazil. Funny enough, Logan Paul had been previously getting help from none other than Israel Adesanya. And if you know anything about Adesanya and Pereira, You know for a fact that two intense beefs are converging into one professional boxing match. Now, we don't think it'll be worth much to try and go over their boxing styles. One of them has been a rather lousy boxer, if we're really being honest, and the other is a pure grappler who edges out on grappling skills to secure his MMA victories. After all, there is great incentive to really build up the grappling game in MMA, so Dillon Danis doesn't necessarily have to spend much time working on his striking. With the high sentimental stakes in this fight, though, both of them are putting in the effort. Then again, it's hard not to notice the curious lack of pure boxers lending a hand in training either of them. As for the money involved, we'll only know after the fight according to the clauses of the fight contract. Whichever way this fight ends, it's going to be an internet sensation. And it will be yet another big event in the realm of influencer boxing. Are you excited to see this beef to the end? Leave us a like and subscribe if you agree with our assessment of this showdown. We'll see you again when the dust settles on the canvas.